All right, folks. Yes. Well, let me just address this really quick. The Rev apparently isn't coming in today, or he's late. One or the other. He hasn't let me know that he's not coming in, but he ain't here right now. So, I don't know exactly whether he will be in or not. So I just need to get that out of the way. But as far as I know, he will be here. I'm guessing. But let's get to this news really quick. New January 6th footage. I know everybody's sick of hearing about this. I know everybody's sick of talking about this. But this is still a very relevant news story. And it's what's going on, folks. So it's important to show exactly what's going on whenever there's new updates to this case. Now, there is new January 6th footage from January 6th, 2021 that shows two Capitol police officers escorting Jacob Chansley, the guy with the horns, who's been dubbed the Anon Shaman. That guy, who has come to symbolize the riot through the halls of the Capitol and to the very door of the U.S. Senate. I've seen this footage. You can see them actually escorting this man to the U.S. Senate. The footage aired on Tucker Carlson's Fox News show on Monday and shows the officers closely following Chansley as he wanders the corridors of the Capitol, bare chest and wearing face paint amid luxuriant fur hat with Viking horns. Like I said, he was the guy, the Viking, that was that was like the face of the January 6th riot. So the tapes show that the police never ever at any point stopped Jacob Chansley. They were tour guides for Jacob Chansley. That's insane. At one point, the officers are seen walking him past 7 other police officers who were just standing around outside the Senate chambers, and they barely give him a second look. They escort him to various entrances of the chamber that appear to be locked, and eventually they help him open a door, and he enters the chamber of Congress. And that's where you see the picture of him standing at Nancy Pelosi's post as the Speaker of the House. Now, Chansley is a 33-year-old Navy veteran from Arizona, and he's been in jail. He's been jailed for almost 4 years for obstructing an official proceeding. In a jailhouse interview played by Tucker Carlson, Chansley says that the one very serious regret that he has is believing that when they were waved in by the police, that what they were doing was acceptable. And I don't blame him in this sense. The police were helping him. In a statement, the Capitol Police suggest that one of the officers with Chansley was trying to de-escalate the situation because he was outnumbered. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. But that does not explain why Chansley, who was unarmed, was able to walk past 7 more police officers without being apprehended. Exactly. As well as Chansley's story, Tucker will air footage that says that he claims debunks the narrative that the Capitol Police officer Brian Sicknick was murdered by rioters. Now, personally, I think that's a little bit disingenuous. I don't think anybody ever said that he was murdered at the specific site of January 16. Brian Sicknick would be alive if it not been for the stress of January 6th. He had a heart attack and died the next day. Like, I think it's very safe to say that if something happens like that, where some type of event like that happens, where you're under that much duress and you're that much stress and you die the next day, I'm pretty good with saying that had something to do, or it was a contributing factor to your death. Other accusations against Republicans that were promoted by the heavily partisan January 6th committee are shown in a strikingly different light by the footage to be aired by Tucker, including viral video of Senator Josh Hawley, who's a Republican, running away from rioters the day that appears to be taken out of context allegedly. There are claims that Representative Brian Loudermilk guided the insurrectionists around the Capitol to help them disrupt Senate proceedings. Contrast with him showing constituents around the next door Rayburn building the previous evening. Democratic lawmakers such as Jamie Raskin of Maryland have warned that Tucker Carlson poses a serious security risk and have accused Fox News of being a pro-Putin, pro-Orban, pro-autocrat propaganda. See, this is where liberals always lose me. Again, it used to be you could count on the right-wingers, the Republicans, to call everybody a Russian puppet or a Russian stooge or whatever. But now, when did the Democrats become that? Every time you disagree with them, you're a Russian puppet, you're a Russian stooge. Like, that's what they used to say about Martin Luther King and Harry Belafonte and Paul Robeson. People like Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee. Straight up black list McCarthyite smears of anybody who pushes back on their nonsense. Now, see, to me, a lot of Republicans are doing their touchdown dance about this situation. They are sitting around like, oh my God, this proves that January 6th wasn't a riot. No, this proves that January 6th wasn't a riot. What this means is that, instead, this was just a calm little get together. But here's what I tell people, look, and this is what we've known from day one. I do not doubt that the FBI had people in that crowd on some level to agitate those people on some level. They always do. They always have. That's what the FBI does. They did it during the Civil Rights Movement. We just talked about a few weeks ago on this show. You can look through the archives, or you can go to my YouTube page, Scott Cannon WLTH. And I talked about how the FBI infiltrated Black Lives Matter. They paid an informant to infiltrate and try to get them to commit crimes. This is what the FBI does. But here is something I also know. That there are many police officers in this country with a fascistic instinct and an inclination to support fascistic behavior. They always have. Now, I'm not saying all cops are fascists. Don't call me and say that I'm saying all cops are fascists. But fascism is something that has shown itself to be congruent in many ways with American policing. That's just what it is. Fascism has shown itself to be congruent with American policing in many, many ways. Donald Trump is somebody who, while he was in office, used a lot of fascistic language. I'm not saying he's Hitler or Mussolini. I don't do what the liberals do and make Donald Trump out to be Hitler, all any of that other nonsense. I think he's closer to Silvio Berlusconi than Hitler or Mussolini. Personally, I just think he's a decadent, narcissistic guy. But he does use a lot of fascistic language when it comes to things like policing. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Donald Trump has always said that he was going to allow the police to essentially do what they want to do. That has always been sort of his thing. I'm going to let the police do what they want. He's even in times encouraged the police to abuse peaceful protesters. Who remembers when during the Black Lives Matter protest, or the movement for Black Lives protest in 2020, he actually had peaceful protesters, confirmed peaceful protesters, gassed so that he could take a photo op across the street from the White House at a church with a Bible while he was holding a Bible. He had American citizens gassed, peaceful protesters, not violent people. These were not people setting things on fire or beating up cops. These were people who were peaceful protesters. They were gassed by the police solely so he could take a photo op at a church across the street holding a Bible. And so, like I said, Donald Trump, because of his language and his tendency to say things about police and what he will allow police to do while he's in office, attracts a certain fascistic element within policing. I personally believe, and I believe this since January 6th, and since we've seen footage of police officers literally opening up the gates to let those protesters in. I believe that a lot of the Capitol Police were on the side of MAGA. Yes, they were on the side of MAGA. They themselves wanted to disrupt the vote certification of the 2020 election. And so it's not that I believe that January 6th was some sort of hoax or some sort of, what do you call it? False flag. I don't believe that at all. What I do believe is that a lot of those cops were on the side of Donald Trump and the protesters, and they were trying to overturn the 2020 election. And a lot of those cops should be sitting in jail right now. A lot of those police officers should be sitting in a jail cell right next to the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, right now. And the crazy thing is, some of these protesters are probably going to get off or get less time in jail because the police were helping them. And so I really hope that a lot of people will not fall for the bait. There's a lot of people on the left and the right. This is not just this is the far left and the right have both downplayed January 6th since it happened. And I've always said, look, there's no doubt that I'm sure, like I said, the FBI had something. Some people, some snitches, some agitators in the crowd. I don't doubt that. But there's also an element among those people that is anti-democratic, that is pro-fascistic, that likes somebody who likes somebody like Donald Trump, who has autocratic tendencies, who believes that the police should be able to crush people, that believes the police should be able to beat down poor people, beat down black people, sort of abuse the element of people that they don't like. And this is why when we talk about policing on this show, we talk about policing on this show a lot because there's a lot of police killings, particularly of black people, that we have to address. I always say this. One of the biggest problems that we have in American policing is that the American public likes the fact on some level that America's police are a little bit more crazy and a little bit more dangerous and a little bit more violent than the rest of the world's police. In Western Europe, they have far higher standards for being a cop than in America. Why do we allow Jethro and Louis to become police officers with a high school education and about 500 hours of training, when in places in Western Europe they got to train for 5,000 hours and have gone to college for 3 years before they can step foot on the street and be a cop? It is because there is a classist, racist, fascistic element in this country that enjoys the idea of sicking the police on people and using the police as their avenging army against all the people, the undesirable people that they do not like. I don't like the homeless. I like when Giuliani sicks the police on those people. I don't like black people. I like when Giuliani or whoever, back in the days it would have been Richard J. Daley, sicks the police on those people and have Fred Hampton killed and Mark Clark killed. I like when stuff like Rodney King happens. It shows those people that they have a place and they need to stay in it. So I think it is definitely instructive for us to look at this January 6th footage, this new footage. The Capitol Police has a lot to answer for. But it's also important for us to keep our eye on the ball and remember that, again, these people wanted to stop a democratic election from being certified. That's why they were there in the first place. They were there because they wanted to stop a democratic election from being certified. And all those clowns on Fox News, they've been exposed now too. Look at Tucker Carlson. There's a lawsuit. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this. Fox News is being sued by Dominion, who are the ones who certified the votes from 2020. And a lot of very informative things have come out about Fox News in this lawsuit. Mostly that Rupert Murdoch, who's one of the richest men in the world and owns Fox News, and everybody on the network knew that Donald Trump was lying. Tucker Carlson knew and knows that Donald Trump was lying. In the lawsuit, it just came out that Tucker Carlson sent a text about Donald Trump saying, "I hate him passionately." He hates Donald Trump. He doesn't like Donald Trump. The owner of Fox News, the workers at Fox News have had to essentially admit in court that they purposely pushed a false narrative about the 2020 election for ratings and because they were afraid of Donald Trump. That's the danger. That's the danger, folks. When you have that type of element in our society of people who are so powerful that they can literally bend the media to their will, you have a problem. All right, folks, please, if you got an opinion about this topic or our next topic, we're going to talk about these Americans who are kidnapped in Mexico. Give me a call, 219-885-1371. That's 219-885-1371. Later on, we have the Happy Happies. And we're going to talk about another one of our musical legends, a Hoosier. This time, a guy from the great state of Indiana. But that's later on in the Happy Happies. Please give me a call, 219-885-1371. And if you didn't hear me, I'll tell you again.
You are listening to Cannon Rev on WLTH 1370 AM. Give us a call, 219-885-1371.